The Department of Health believes that NHS bodies should be employers of choice, not only working for the well-being of individual patients, but also the welfare and cohesion of their workforces. However, despite a record on equality that stands in comparison to other high-profile organisations, certain groups still remain underrepresented in the NHS workforce. They still face difficulty in gaining promotion and may still experience problems at work. As part of our work on developing a talent plan, the West Midlands SHA has been engaged in some work in conjunction with the Department of Health on inclusion. This work is exploring the barriers that exist for women, clinicians and BME managers in reaching top leadership roles in the NHS. The aim is to create a wider talent pool, which is more inclusive of the above groups and can feed executive director and chief executive vacancies in PCTs and provider trusts.
We're doing a range of initiatives for diversity and inclusion in the West Midlands. We're particularly starting at the top in relation to engaging boards across the patch in the agenda. We're pulling together some training materials in relation to the business case for inclusion at board level, and we'll be encouraging a range of our boards across primary care trusts and hospitals to use the video and training materials associated with that. We're working with our chief executives in relation to a co-mentoring scheme where they mentor future black and minority ethnic leaders, but particularly looking at some of the barriers that those leaders are actually encountering in the NHS, with a view for the chief executives to actually take some action back in their own organisations.
There's a particular shortage of BME managers and clinicians coming into top leadership roles. There are no BME chief executives in the West Midlands and very few role models at executive director level. However, the profile of populations is changing radically. In areas such as Birmingham and the Black Country, boards of directors do not reflect the ethnic breakdown of the populations they serve.
Diversity in leadership is important for a range of reasons. It's essential in relation to giving confidence to our local populations and the patients we serve, that we have top leaders and indeed a range of leaders in our hospitals and primary care trusts who understand the issues in relation to different services and can start to design and shape services which are culturally competent and sensitive to the different needs in relation to populations and communities.
Throughout the years, the NHS has continually reinforced its commitment to ensuring its workforce is representative of the communities it serves. It is recognised that staff working across the NHS need to be reflective of the diverse makeup of the UK to ensure appropriate and sensitive service delivery.
It's absolutely essential, and for three very, very good business-related reasons. The first one is because we need to be culturally competent, so we need to have staff who can actually provide the service that our patients need. And given that nearly a fifth of our patients here in Walsall come from culturally diverse backgrounds, we need to be able to make sure that we can provide them the service that they want and that they need to make them better. The second reason is because from a straightforward workforce planning point of view, we know that the numbers of young people coming into the world are going to reduce over the next few years, and we want to make sure that the health service gets its fair share of new recruits coming into the workplace. The final reason, and I think in many ways it's the most important reason, is because of the values we hold. I happen to passionately believe in fairness and opportunity for all.
Shahana Khan is one of very few women from South Asian backgrounds to have successfully achieved the position of Executive Director within the NHS. She came from the private sector and initially trained as an accountant within the MOD. Having worked for various NHS trusts in the West Midlands in 2007, Shahana was appointed as Director of Finance at Walsall Manor Hospital. Whilst progressing her career and striving for the top, she also decided to make a big change within her personal life and to start wearing the hijab, the covering of her hair.
I looked into my beliefs and really started to get to know Islam, and I decided to cover my hair. And I had been working in a hospital for a number of years at that stage, and I remember walking in wearing a hijab on the Monday morning, and I had a real mixed reaction from staff. Some were fine with it, however the others either thought it was because of a religious event or they thought it was an act of oppression, that I'd been forced to wear it, that it was my husband who was forcing me. And in fact, my husband was actually against it, saying that you will meet discrimination. And I thought, no, actually this is the belief, this is what I want to do in my own free will, and I'm going to wear it.
Throughout her progression, Shahana has had to face rigorous and detailed interviews to convince the panel that she was the right person for the job.
You do expect interviews to be tough and challenging, particularly at the more senior levels. However, what I have noted is that as a BME Asian woman, some panellists perceive, as I walk through the door, that this is a meek Asian woman, and therefore what I have found is that at some interviews that they will challenge you unduly because they want to test whether, as a meek Asian woman, you'll be able to take on the challenges of the role. And therefore this is something that the NHS has to deal with and resolve.
Michael Buckle is currently on an 18-month secondment as Associate Director of Pharmacy at the University Hospital Birmingham. He has over 25 years public sector experience. He began his career in the health service over 10 years ago and has successfully fast-tracked himself through to Band 8C in that time. Mike's progression has been down to hard work and dedication, and believes that as a black male he has had to work twice as hard to prove himself to his seniors and colleagues.
I think in the early part of my career, one of the biggest challenges was dealing with the perception of the stereotypical Caribbean male, which is normally someone who's physically big, well built, and that sometimes can be seen as very challenging, as aggressive in society. But things have changed and moved on over the latter years, and that's somewhat of an issue right now. In relation to education, again, I think stereotypically everyone assumes that Caribbean men are good at sport, and academically they're a little bit challenged, and that stereotype has been reinforced and is probably still reinforced today.
Mike is one of very few black males in senior roles within the NHS. He is often called upon to act as a spokesman on diversity or to support initiatives promoting diversity within the sector. He welcomes the opportunities but believes that undertaking this work on top of his already demanding workload requires a lot of time and commitment on his part.
How do you balance doing a good job, a quality job at work, and then going home and finding time to spend with your family, and then finding even more time to support other individuals who want to move forward? Now, as a young man, some of the core values that were instilled in me was to do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. I know that I face pressure from people who don't want me to be successful, but that doesn't stop me from wanting to give more back to people who want to go down the same road that I've been fortunate and lucky enough to go down, and have had some good luck in terms of achieving what I've achieved so far.
Balraj Singh Rai is Programme Lead for the Pace Setters programme based at the SHA West Midlands. He joined the NHS in 1993 and has over 16 years' experience working in various posts. Balraj began his working life in Birmingham, but then moved to Bedfordshire before returning to the West Midlands in 2006 to work on a 10-month contract, which is where he remains 3 years later, having risked a permanent contract for a time-specific one. Balraj moved from a Band 7 posting to an 8C. He has worked hard to achieve the success he now enjoys. However, he has done so without compromising his religious beliefs. He is a practicing Sikh and adopts the 5 Ks, Kesh, Kanga, Kachar, Kirpan and Kura, as a symbol of his faith.
In terms of being judged on appearances, I mean, I think it happens too often. People look at first impressions, people have stereotypes, people look at a scenario or a situation, and they make judgments based on what they see. In terms of what I am, and I'm pretty sure that I've had instances where people have said, people have seen the beard and the turban as something of a barrier, and I often, even today in sort of 2010, I still get people saying things like, "Oh, it's nice to put a face to the name," or "Oh, you're Balraj, are you?" And I'm not quite sure what people expected, but that gives me a certain message that I sometimes need to work, twice as hard for people to see beyond the beard and beyond the turban, to see the programme lead and the professional in the NHS that I am.
Balraj believes that much of his success has been as a result of the support and faith shown in him by his directors and service management team. His role as lead on the Pace Setters project has been extended 3